them birds gon' fly. You already know. Rain, sleet, or snow. Eagles train to go.
Hello, World Bald Eagle coming at you. It's the end of the football season. A lot of things to discuss. Still going to talk about the Super Bowl soon. Not really break it down or anything, but just talk about the aftermath from it. I'm going to let the news media breathe for a little bit, gather some information. Then I'm going to speak on that because there's a lot of crazy things being said right now because of recency bias and, things of that nature. But right now, I just wanted to discuss something that is still going on even though it's the end of the season right now. So, for whatever reason, the Eagles have been eliminated since, maybe the second week of January, first week of January, something like that, whenever they play the 49ers. And there's still a lot of content about the Eagles online. And it's not just from content creators that make content about the Eagles. It's still the national media and, bigger names and stuff like that. Still talking about the Eagles, talking about Jalen Hurts, talking about A.J. Brown and trades and extensions and moving on from people and stuff like that. And it's just, it's crazy that a lot of other teams don't get the same type of discussion all the time. There's a lot of teams that they haven't proved themselves yet in any type of way. And what we should be looking at is, hey, man, what is this team going to do? They still have a lot to prove. What's that quarterback going to do? He still hasn't won a playoff game at all. Things of that nature. But they're not talking about that. They're talking about, hey, man, is this new offensive coordinator going to improve Jalen Hurts? How is somebody going to make Jalen Hurts better? Should the Eagles move on from A.J. Brown? This, that, and the third. And it's like, okay, these things are discussion worthy, but what about the other teams? What about guys that haven't been in the playoffs 3 years in a row, 2 years in a row, largest contract in NFL history, things like that? Not talking about that at all. So this led me to thinking about the biggest Eagle haters in the national media talking about the Eagles right now. And I have a top 5 list, and I'm just going to start with the honorable mention first just to get him out of the way because this guy, to me, I don't know, he's not to be taken seriously at all. So we'll start with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, to me, he has no hot takes. Online, they have him as the hot take king, and that's just a joke because he has no hot takes. Like Max Kellerman said, all he does is react to somebody else's hot takes. So you have to jump out the window and say something that people deem crazy, and then Stephen A. Smith is going to finally be like, oh no, that's just crazy. That's preposterous. Whatever, the things he does. And that's just all he does. He's obviously a phony. He tries to cover too many sports, and it doesn't work. When he's talking about certain things that he knows nothing about, it shows immediately. He always concedes to the guys that know more than him, but then tries to argue with the ones that he doesn't respect. Being loud doesn't mean that you're right. So that's just what he does. He yells a lot, tries to make his point, tries to flex his lexicon and things like that. But it doesn't mean that you know the sport or anything that you're talking about. So for me, when he's talking about the Eagles, he's obviously just recency bias type of guy, being a hater. Whatever everybody else is talking about, that's what he's going to speak about. And it's just going to be negative most of the time about the Eagles. So I'm just going to get him out the way right now of just a honorable mention, but doing that first. So moving on to the other guys. So first on my list right now is Shannon Sharpe. He's an ex-player, a Hall of Famer, and the guy was good at the sport, and he was great when he was doing his thing. And he's obviously entertaining. He was the reason that the Skip Bayless situation even worked out at all. And, we know all these things. But he's a homer, and he has bias, of course. He's a flip-flopper. He goes between the Broncos and the Ravens when he sees it comfortable to his liking. And he's just always going to have bias against certain NFC teams, and it seems like he's just not a fan of Jalen Hurts at all, and obviously not a fan of the Eagles, and that's just not in passing. I've noticed it. Just a lot of his takes against the Eagles, a lot of his takes against QB1, a lot of hot takes, a lot of clickbait type of thumbnails and things like that you'll see on his page. So, you know, I'm not a fan of that at all, even though he's an entertaining internet personality. At the end of the day, it's just too much bias sometimes, and you can tell, and it's just too much. So Shannon Sharpe, it'll be, I guess, number 5 starting the list of the Eagles haters that's on the internet, that's always pushing the narrative that Hurts is not doing enough and the Eagles will be better with a different quarterback, or that the Eagles will be better just generally if they did something else in total, even though they're always winning and they have a pretty successful record and they're always in the mix of things. So start with Shannon Sharpe and moving on. Next on the list is Chris Sims. This guy, he's just a joke. He's a failed quarterback in the league, and he's just somebody that used nepotism just generally in his life, as far as I'm concerned, because he doesn't have anything going for himself. He was a failed quarterback, like I said, and in the media, he does nothing but just goes at the guys that he doesn't like, Jalen Hurts, and never has anything positive to say about the guy at all, and never has anything positive to say about the Eagles at all. And it's just, it shows all the time. There's always bias. He likes the guys that he likes. He's always going to be talking about, oh man, this is so sad for Josh Allen and stuff like that. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts or the Eagles, it's just their fault, and the Eagles will be better without Hurts, and 31 other quarterbacks can do it and stuff like that. He's just one of those guys. He's a joke, and I don't take him seriously at all. Next on the list is Emmanuel Acho. This guy, he was cut by the Eagles. He's still upset about that, and he just has bad takes all the time. He reps the Eagles when it's convenient. When they had that show on TV and they had the day that they had to stand in front of the locker and stand in front of the jerseys that they used to play for and stuff like that, he'll have the Eagles up there because he has no choice but to have them. But he didn't have a good career at all. He didn't have anything going for himself. And now he just has hot takes against the Eagles, and especially Jalen Hurts. He seems to have an obsession with him for whatever reason, talking about him every chance he gets, talking about nothing most of the time. Talking about, I mean, just this guy does not make any sense at all when he's talking about Jalen Hurts and talking about the Eagles. A broken clock is right twice a day, so sometimes he'll say something that makes sense. But most of the time, he's a flip-flopper. He goes with the hot takes and what's hot. He's a bootlicker. He's always saying stuff that's just not good at all, that anybody should represent, and he's a bad representation of a lot of things. So I'm just gonna leave that there, but just a lame guy in general. So I have 2 more people on this list, and I'm not sure what order I should go with these guys, because to me they're interchangeable, but one has to win out over the other, so I'm not sure. But I'm just gonna roll the dice right now, and I'm just gonna go with Colin Cowherd first, because the other guy, he's gonna be worth it as well. But you know, Colin Cowherd, this guy, he's obviously a phony. This guy is a phony because at the end of the day, it's a 3-hour show. He has too much to talk about. He's trying to cover all the sports, and we already know that's too difficult. You know, this is something new to me right here, and trying to keep up with the Eagles in general is just a lot. If you're going to try to do a lot of clickbaiting, you're going to have videos every day and always saying, this is insane, and all stuff like that. And I'm just not into stuff like that, because it's no point of it, especially when football is not on. There's nothing going on. You can't really like gauge anything with stuff like that. So to me, trying to cover all the sports, talking about a 3-hour show, it's already going to be too much. You're not doing enough research. You're not watching all the shows. And it shows that this guy does not do research at all. He's obviously biased. He likes the people that he likes. And yes, I'm going to say it. I mean, it doesn't help at all. The optics are not good, but it just looks racist sometimes when he's talking about Jalen Hurts, because there's a lot of things that all you have to do is just look into it, and you'll see that, hey, this guy does throw over the middle. I mean, what are you talking about? He just says things, and then the next day he'll flip-flop on it. You can watch this guy say something on Tuesday and have a different take about the same subject matter on Wednesday. And that, to me right there, it just shows that it's just too much going on. Like his team, they're not even telling him like, hey, we just said this on Tuesday, maybe you shouldn't say this today. So it just shows that there's lack of research, there's flip-flopping going on. And the reason he's on this list right here is because he obviously is another one that hates the Eagles. He's an Eagle hater. He does not like the Eagles at all. He's always talking nonsense about the Eagles, calling them a dysfunctional organization. And when you look at it, the Eagles don't have the Super Bowl numbers to back it up. They're just as successful as the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. If it wasn't for Brady and Belichick, the Eagles might have been a little more successful as far as hardware is concerned. Because if you look at the numbers, the Eagles have the second number of playoff wins compared to the Patriots when Brady was on the team. So you just always talking nonsense, talking about dysfunctional organization and this, that, and the third. Just obviously, like I said, doesn't like Jalen Hurts, always talking about this guy is too short, stuff like that. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense, bro. Like, there's obvious bias there. And like I said, a lot of times it looks like what it is. It looks like racism because this guy is in love with Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, and these guys have not won anything. Calls them the prototype, calls Josh Allen the best quarterback he's ever seen. And if you look at the numbers, Josh Allen has the most turnovers of all the quarterbacks since 2020. And the next number to him, he has like 20 turnovers over that person. So that's that Josh Allen right there. And, the bias is there. It's just obvious. It is what it is. And moving on from that guy, because he's obviously a joke, like I said. Last but not least on the list is Nick Wright. This guy, I don't want to disrespect anybody's last name, but he's always wrong. It's ironic that his last name is Wright, because him being a Kansas City fan is obviously a bias. Most of the analysts on TV, people know that they might be biased towards a team, or they used to play for a team, or they're from a particular city, or they have some type of affiliation with a franchise. But they don't go so hard for their team on national television like this guy does. And the bias, it makes it bad, because he can never be objective about anything he's talking about. He's just like one of us. He's another fan, but has a job on television, so he gets to say whatever he wants, and he's just talking all the time and saying nonsense. And this guy has a Mahomes obsession that is just out of this world. I know we all like the quarterbacks of our teams. We all go hard for them at times, and we all have their backs in debates and sports talks and things like that. But you can't be on television with a Mahomes mountain. That is just crazy. How do you have a Mahomes mountain? That's disrespectful to all the other quarterbacks that play in the National Football League right now. It's not right to have something like that. How can you be on TV with that? That's just an off segment right there. And then for whatever reason, no matter what's going on with Mahomes, he's always going to be atop of the mountain or adjacent to the top of the mountain, regardless of what's going on. Then you have guys you don't like at the bottom of the mountain, regardless of what they've accomplished or what's going on with them. Like, you can't even have recency bias with the mountain. You just do whatever you like because of how you feel about the player. And that's not cool at all. He disrespects a lot of quarterbacks with that nonsense Mahomes mountain. And he obviously is on this list because he's somebody that does not like Jalen Hurts or the Philadelphia Eagles. He obviously does not like the Eagles because the Eagles were able to embarrass Kansas City in that Super Bowl and win. And even coming close to winning in Super Bowl 57, he had a problem with that and just never had any good takes about the Eagles after that, because they came close to knocking off Mahomes from the pedestal that he wanted to put him on. So he's not objective at all. This guy, he talks from a fan point like the rest of us. He might as well be dressed like I'm dressed right now on television instead of wearing a suit, because he's always talking from a bias point and just like another fan. And he does not like the Eagles. He's a rage baiter. And just like Cowherd, they say things is going to make you click. And, these guys, that's all they do. Acho, Cowherd, all of them, Chris Sims, they do not like the Eagles. They don't like Jalen Hurts. They only talk about the Eagles all the time because it keeps the lights on and it's going to get clicks. How are you showing Jalen Hurts plays a week after the Super Bowl? What does that have to do with anything? There was just another team playing just a week ago. So, you know, these guys, they have bias against the Eagles. And I just wanted to speak on it. I might make another video talking about certain people on television that always talks positive about the Eagles, and they talk from a real objective standpoint. You know, they tell the truth about the Eagles. They talk when the team is having bad things going on, they keep it real about it. And when the team is doing what they're supposed to be doing, they also have their back, you know, against the other talking heads. I know their shows, they're supposed to do this. Everybody can't talk from the same point. It's a debate show. I know very much about these things. It's a business. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just look like a fool when you're always saying the same things and never moving your position regardless of what the team is doing or not. I mean, that right there, why are you still on? At the end of the day, I know that we're all just going to keep talking sports and it is what it is, but why are you never going to talk objectively about something when it's in front of you, when the information is right there? You're going to talk about how Sam Darnold did what he was supposed to do and stuff like that, but they never gave Hurts the same type of credit. So I'm still going to talk about the Super Bowl. Like I said, I'm still going to talk about those things, but for now, I just wanted to get that out. So those guys right there, to me, they're all jokes. They have terrible takes. And even if they have decent takes sometimes, the bad takes outweigh the good. And it just makes you look at them like the clowns that they are. And that's just my point of view on that right there. Go Birds.
Them birds gonna fly, you already know. Brains to the snow, Eagles training.